I just got the Ultrahuman Ring 3 months ago after having the Oura Ring for 2 years. So now that I've been able to try both out and compare them, this is my complete honest review and comparison of both rings. We'll go through all the features in a second, but starting off with just the ring itself, the Oura Ring is a little bit heavier and thicker, and at first when I got the Ultrahuman Ring, because I was so used to wearing the Oura Ring, it made the Ultrahuman Ring feel quite cheap. But honestly, after having worn it for a few months, I do feel that the fact that it is lighter and thinner is actually a benefit, although I don't know how well it will wear over time, and maybe the Oura Ring is a bit more durable. I'll take you through an example for each ring of how the app displays your data for a whole day. So let's take this day for the Oura Ring. As you can see, it displays all 3 of my scores on this homepage. And then if we go into my sleep score, it tells me all of the main information about my sleep. And then it shows you all the different things that contribute to my sleep and sleep score. Anything above 85 for Oura gives you a crown, and you can get 3 crowns, 1 for sleep, 1 for readiness, and 1 for activity throughout the day, but it doesn't really mean much besides that. And as you can see, something that annoyed me about the Oura app was that you can't actually scroll through the sleep stages and see at what time you were at each stage or how long each stage was. And again, with the lowest heart rate, it gives you this little white dot to show when you had your lowest heart rate throughout the night, but you can't actually click on it and see exactly what time it was at. And then we can move over to the readiness score page where it shows you some different information and what the contributors are to that score. For example, you can see my resting heart rate is red, which means that this is a reason why my score was lower than it could have been. My resting heart rate was higher that night than it has been other nights. And then again, it shows you the rest of the data below where you can also see how it's trended over time. Moving on to activity, your score always starts at 100 in the morning, and then as the day goes on, it changes. At the bottom, you can see my workouts that it's recorded. The ring does detect activity if you don't have another wearable device, and it allows you to select what type of workout it is, how long it was, even though it does suggest values for that based on what it's detected. But because I have an Apple Watch, the thing I really like about Oura is that it imports the data from Apple Health and it imports those workouts and automatically syncs them. Oura does have a feature to detect daytime stress, and mine completely stopped working for a few months. And when I reached out to the support, they told me that it was because my resting heart rate was lower than the threshold that they have in order to be able to calculate that. So that's kind of a me problem. But when I was able to see that, it was very interesting information. Moving on to Ultrahuman, immediately when you come into the app, the dashboard is much more colorful, the numbers are displayed much bigger, and in the morning, your sleep score appears at the top, but since I've already opened the app today, my movement score appears at the top. But if we go into sleep, again, it's pretty similar to Oura. You can see some of the main information up top and then the different contributors. And again, they're colored differently based on how optimal it is. I think the Ultrahuman app displays the information in a much nicer way, and with the way that they have the colors, I think it's much easier to take a quick glance and very quickly understand what has affected your scores. And as I mentioned with Oura, you aren't able to go in and look specifically at each of the sleep stages or see exactly what time your resting heart rate was at its lowest, for example. But if you look at the Ultrahuman app, I can actually scroll over to the different sleep stages and see what time they were at and also how long they were. And then below it just shows some of the other information. And going over to the recovery score, which is their version of the readiness score, you can see different factors from your sleep. You can see the different contributors and how they compare from yesterday compared to today and how that contributes to your score. In Oura, you're able to tag extra things like symptoms, if you had caffeine, if you traveled, if you were staying at a hotel. And I did add some of those tags for a while, but it felt like they weren't really being used for anything. Ultrahuman has these extra features called power plugs that allow you to look at other data. For example, they have one that tells you based on your data when is most optimal for you to consume caffeine, and they adjust that day to day. They also have a cycle and ovulation tracking one. They have one for pregnancy insights, looking at your circadian rhythm, screen time, and they also just launched a smart alarm. I haven't used it yet, but supposedly it wakes you up based on the optimal timing in your sleep stages, so it's not waking you up out of a deep sleep. As I mentioned, Oura does track your stress throughout the day, although that feature doesn't work for me. The Ultrahuman one is pretty similar to what Oura had, but I'd say that it has a bit more layers to the data, and it also shows you and overlays when you are sleeping, when you're having activity, whereas Oura, I believe, only shows the stress data during the day and not at night. And then Ultrahuman also has some of these extra individual markers and data that you can look at. And then Ultrahuman also does show you your activity levels similar to Oura. Although the one complaint that I do have is that, like I mentioned, Oura syncs the workouts from Apple Health. Ultrahuman does detect activity and you can then add it and choose what type of workout it is, but it doesn't automatically sync it, and it doesn't just give you an option to just confirm based on what it detects. You do have to go through that extra step of selecting and confirming exactly what type of activity you were doing. As far as overall accuracy of the data, I feel like they both have some inconsistencies and inaccuracies, but overall, I haven't noticed any major differences. The one thing I do notice though is that my scores with the Ultrahuman tend to be higher, but when I go in and actually look at the data, the numbers it's giving me are the same as what the Oura Ring was tracking. So I think it is just that they tend to score higher. A few times I've gotten an 100 sleep score with Ultrahuman, which I don't think I ever got with Oura. So I think that has just taken some getting used to on my part, because before with the Oura, I knew that if I was below 85 or 80, I knew what that meant in my head for how that compares to every day. Whereas now with the Ultrahuman, it's more like if I'm below 90, I know that's a worse day because most of my scores tend to be above 90. For battery and charging, they both say different things on the website, but what I found is that the Oura Ring lasts about 5 days and the Ultrahuman Ring lasts about 3 days, but the Oura Ring takes about an hour to fully charge, whereas the Ultrahuman Ring takes about 2 hours to charge. And I really liked the convenience of the Oura Ring, that I could just put it on the charger for 30 minutes while I was eating a meal or taking a shower and it would be fully charged. Whereas now with the Ultrahuman Ring, I have to think more about it, especially because it also doesn't last as long. For pricing, the Oura Ring starts at $350 and goes up to $500 depending on what color you choose. If you choose gold, that's the most expensive at $500, whereas the Ultrahuman Ring is $350 no matter what color you choose. And Oura also has a $6 a month subscription fee, so that's an extra $72 a year. Ultrahuman has no subscription fees, and everything in the app is free except for some of the power plugs. All the power plugs I mentioned are free, but I think they have some other ones that are co-developed with other companies and other apps that you can add in, and I believe they're one-time fees of about $5. So I was wearing the Oura Ring for a little over 2 years, and then when I got the Ultrahuman Ring, I wore both for 2 weeks to really get an idea of the comparison, and ever since then I have stuck to the Ultrahuman Ring. That is what I've been wearing solidly for the past month and a half since I compared both. Overall, if I had to buy one, I would go with the Ultrahuman Ring. A big reason is that they seem to be updating and evolving a lot. Over the 2 years I had the Oura, they did do some updates, but it never really felt like any of those updates substantially improved my experience with it. They were more small vanity updates. I think the Oura leans a bit more into fitness tracking, and the Ultrahuman has an overall more holistic view, helping you optimize your health, habits, and routines. In my opinion, I would only suggest the Oura Ring to somebody if they want to focus more on fitness tracking and don't have another fitness tracking device. But I think the Ultrahuman Ring and the Apple Watch is the best pairing. Honestly, my biggest complaint is just that Ultrahuman doesn't automatically sync workouts from Apple Health, because if they did, I would have no reason to use the Oura Ring. I know Oura just came out with their new generation of their ring, so I know things might change in the future. So these are just my thoughts on the current 2 rings and the features that they have now. If you are interested in getting the Ultrahuman Ring, you can use my code HEALTH10 for 10% off. This is not sponsored at all, but they did gift me the ring and they also gave me the code for you to use. But like I said, if I was going to buy another one with my own money, I would definitely buy the Ultrahuman Ring again. I've been seeing everybody talk about the Ultrahuman Ring for months, and if I knew how much I would have liked it, I probably would have bought it before. I've been suggesting to a couple people I know who have the Oura Ring and have used it for over a year to get the Ultrahuman Ring, because I really do think it is an improvement. Let me know down below if you have any questions or if you've tried either ring and you have any thoughts on them. I'd love to hear your experiences with them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.